Hello, and thank you for watching this Furniture Command Center video. Today this video is going to show a very high-level demo of what it looks like to send information from Furniture Command Center over into QuickBooks Online. We're going to start by looking at a very simple quote here. And initially we're going to just point out the fact that there is a lot of different configuration options that are available with Furniture Command Center. So even though we'll talk about just the defaults here, please note that there's a lot of different ways you can send data over into QuickBooks, including the timing of when things go over, and also what types of entities they create over in the QuickBooks Online environment. So here we have a simple quote. I have a customer called Pinnacle Customer Test, and then I have 3 line items down here at the bottom. This is a very simple order. I have just 3 lines that are the same manufacturer, and in this case I'm using a third-party installer. So at the bottom here I can see some of my financial totals. So I would expect to see a receivable in the amount of $2,085.89, and then I would expect to see a total collection of payables in the amount of our cost, $1,738.70. First, let's drill down into one of these line items and talk about where things are mapped inside of QuickBooks Online. Now, one thing that you'll notice is the way that line items are treated between FCC and QuickBooks Online. In FCC, each individual line item has multiple components. In this case, we have item, freight, and delivery/setup. Now, your environment might have them named differently, or you might see a couple different ones here, but they all work the same. One individual line inside of FCC will then be broken out into multiple lines when it reaches QuickBooks Online. So in this case, for the receivable, I would expect to see, for this one individual line in FCC, I would see 3 rows in the invoice. 1 row for the item cell, 1 row for the freight cell, and 1 row for the delivery/setup cell. And likewise, on the payable side, I would see 1 payable, in this case for the manufacturer Han. I would see 2 rows for this one line, 1 row for the item cost and 1 row for the freight cost. And then on the other payable for the third-party installer, I would expect to see 1 row for the delivery/setup charges of $250. Okay, so let's back up to the overview here. And again, this is what we would expect to see over in QuickBooks. So there's a lot of options, like I mentioned at the beginning, about when this data goes over into QuickBooks Online, but we'll just assume that everything is set to a manual process and nothing is automatically going over into QuickBooks. So as a result, I'm going to go over into the accounting side. To do so, I would go up to Accounting/View Export Orders. On this screen, we'll see all of the items that have yet to go over into QuickBooks. So here's the Pinnacle Test customer that we are working with, and I have little icons here to let me see that I haven't yet pushed my payables and I haven't yet pushed my receivable over. So I'll click on the eyeball icon to drill down into this order. Now, the very first time you start setting up QuickBooks and Furniture Command Center together, you might have to push a few of these things manually. For example, the sales group or the customer or the vendor. Now, if we preloaded this data when you joined FCC, or if they've already been exported into the accounting side, you'll see a little green check mark here, and you don't need to do anything about those. So in this case, I already have Han and my third-party installer, and I already have the customer over into QuickBooks. But if you didn't, again, FCC would automatically create those entities for you over in the accounting system. Down here at the bottom, I have 2 payables. I have my installer down here, and then I have my manufacturer, Han, and then I have 1 receivable. So I'm going to submit all of these over into QuickBooks. I'm going to click on the Manually Export button, and we'll see that 3 items have been manually exported. So let's go over into QuickBooks Online and see what they look like when they landed over into that system. Okay, I'm over here now in this QuickBooks environment. This is a test environment that we have, and I'm going to first look at the sales side. Now, you have some options about how the data is submitted over into QuickBooks, but also what type is created. So for example, you could create either an invoice for the customer or a sales order for the customer. In this case, I have it landing as an invoice. So I'm going to drill down into this invoice. Here, copied over my customer. It copied over the bill to and the ship to address. I've also got my invoice date and my due date. And here's the FCC number right here that was copied over. So again, I might have up to 3 separate lines in QuickBooks Online for each individual line item inside of FCC, and that's the case here as well. So you remember my first line item in FCC has product sales, delivery sales, and freight sales, and all of that information came over. FCC is smart enough to know the tax rate, and it would submit that over as well. In this development environment, we don't have it turned on, but that all flows over as you would expect. And here at the bottom, our total is $2,085.89, which would match what we have back in Furniture Command Center. Here we go, $2,085.89. So that's the receivable side. Let's go back over and look at the payable side. Now for the payables, we would expect to see 2 for this order. One for the manufacturer with product and freight charges, and one for the third-party installer. And just like for the POs, the same numbering system gets copied over, so it's easy to find. You can also configure FCC to submit this over with the vendor invoice number if you want, with their account information. In this case, I just had it copy over the FCC contract numbers. Let's first look in HAN. The net terms and the bill date and the due date can come over from Furniture Command Center. This is the mailing address for this manufacturer. And so again, for the first line item, I had both product and freight charges, and here they are. And then for the other 2 lines, I just had product charges. And so the end result is $1,488.70, and that matches what's in FCC. And if I go back out and look at my third-party bill for my installer, here we go. Only one line item had installation charges, and here it is, $250. Just like on the receivable side, the payables can come over as bill or as purchase orders. You can decide how you want them to flow over. But all the transaction data comes over whenever you choose to do so. Now, one thing to keep in mind is FCC is a one-way push. So FCC will create new information in QuickBooks Online, but it will never go back and update or delete. So we treat your data over in the QuickBooks Online system as sacrosanct, and we'll never go back and change it. But let's say, for example, you did have a major change on this order. You can always just delete these payables or the receivable and resubmit it right back over into QuickBooks with updated information. So that is a very quick look about how Furniture Command Center and QuickBooks Online work together. In short, all the transaction information flows over from FCC to QuickBooks, in addition to the company, whether it be the customer or the vendor or third-party installer information, also gets created over in that system as well. If you have any questions, please let us know and we'll be happy to walk you through it. Thanks for watching.